Miami Dolphin fans, let me ask you something. Do you love the Dolphins? Do you think they are the greatest football team? How about the greatest show on surf? If you answered yes to any or all of these questions, then fins up and surfs up to the greatest show on surf.shop today. Celebrate the most explosive offense in the NFL with this awesome exclusive merch. From jackets, hats, shirts, and more, they have it all. Use promo code FINSTALK and save 15% on your order. Show off your fandom. Don't wait. Go to thegreatestshowonsurf.shop today.
Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And all
right, as always, Dolphins
#1,
baby!
So fins up to all you guys. Thank you for
I just want everybody to remember, we may not always agree on everything Miami Dolphins, but there's one thing we do agree on, is we are all Dolphin fans. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Real Talk Fins Talk. I'm your host, Steve Malloy. Joining me tonight is a.k.a. Dolphins Thirsty, the one and only Rob Mosley. How you doing tonight, Rob?
Awesome, man. I would say fins up, but evidently the Miami Dolphins no longer have that right to say the fins up anymore.
That's right.
So we're going to have to come up with a new catch line here in Dolphin fandom. But, hey, we all know it's a disappointing end, which we're going to touch on, of course, tonight's show. But other than that, life is good, Steve. Can't complain, man. Check out Dolphins Thirsty YouTube channel, and we'll be updating my website. I've been kind of bummed about it the past couple of days, but I'm going to vent on there in the very near future again, but definitely venting on my Dolphins Thirsty YouTube channel. So how are you over there in Houston?
Doing good. Little. As you can see, I'm wearing my beanie cap today. A little chilly. It was down below 5 degrees this morning. Warmed up to a balmy 35. But it's going to be another cold night, cold morning. But it's going to warm up, and then the remaining week it should be normal, back into the 60s and 70s. But yeah, other than that, I'm doing fine. A little disappointed with our team right now. But we'll get to that. We'll talk about that. But first, I want to welcome everybody into the chat. Thanks for joining us tonight.
We can do that if Steve's open to it in a few, and stick with us for a little bit, and we can open panel towards the middle of the show or something.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do want to thank everybody.
I know you want to get your topics off. I know. So we will open it for him soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I see we got Sharif in here, as you mentioned, Rob. I appreciate you, brother, for coming by. Ray Finkel is in here. And whoever else is in here, I just welcome you and thanks. Don't forget to hit that like button. Please, if you're new to the channel, if you're listening and you're new to this channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And then right after, make sure you share with your friends, your families, and your neighbor. All right, so let's get this show on the road. I just want to make a few announcements going forward for the off season. Real Talks Fins Talk will be continuing throughout the off season every Tuesday, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. We will be right here. You can come join us every night. We'll be bringing you updates on the Dolphins news and things of that nature. Also, my goal, as Chris Greer would say, my goal is to invite other content creators on the panel or on the show and talk with us, give us their insights about the season and moving forward. Also, I would like to open this up as a panel show as well moving forward. And in fact, we'll start doing that a little bit tonight. We'll open the panels up, drop the link, and we'll have some folks come in, give us your thoughts about how you thought the season went for you all. If you met your expectations, and what are your expectations for next year, which is a good question. So that's what we got in store for the off season. So now let's get right into what we're going to talk about tonight. First thing I want to talk about tonight is I want to talk a little bit about the press conference. It was very interesting. Chris Greer, Mike McDaniel talked about some of the contracts and free agents and things of that nature. We have over 36 free agents this year. 36 free agents that are going to be out there, testing the market. I'll get to some of those free agents, the ones that I'm going to highlight some of the ones that I think are very important for us at this point in time. But he also mentioned something in that press conference, and he said that basically 30 to 40%, 30 to 40% of this roster will not be the same. It will not look the same as this year's roster. Next year, it's going to be totally different roster. Now, of course, the main nucleus of the players will be here. You know, the Tyreeks, the Jalen Waddles, probably Mostert, and of course, Achane. Achane was one of my favorites this year, so he'll be back next year as well. We got some decisions to make on the defense. And it didn't sound very promising when he said that he's just going to let Christian Wilkins test the market. Of course, he made him an offer in during the season or before the season started, and they both didn't come to an agreement. So he's just going to let Christian Wilkins test the market, which I think would be a big loss for this team. To be honest with you, he had an outstanding season. He's a leader of this team. On defense and offense, to be honest with you, he's just an all-around type guy. You know, he's just he brings a lot of character to this team, let's say, and leadership. So I hate to see him go. I know we talked about him leaving last year and trading him and all that stuff. He proved himself. He got almost 10 sacks. He kind of declined on the tackles, but he still was, he's still all around the field when he played. Outstanding player. Zach Sealer did get his contract signed. But Rob, based on what Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel talked about in the presser, what's your take? What's your feeling on the moving forward with the Miami Dolphins with the free agencies and the Christian Wilkins, and we'll get to Tua as well in a minute, and all the rest.
I mean, it's still fresh coming off that disappointing loss. Another year, another season of no playoff victories. We are now number one on the list of longest playoff drought in the NFL now that the Detroit Lions got that monkey off their back. So with that said, I'm a little bit down. It's hard to get excited already about next year, especially knowing I know they can finagle contracts, but we're like tons under and a lot of players, like you just pointed out, that needs to be signed. Yes, you could rework Tua, which you would talk, which would free up money actually, because we owe him 23, give or take a few million next year. And then, so yes, you can make that contract lower next year. Say, hey, we're going to get you down the line, Tua, but this year take a lower hit so we can rework some of those contracts. But that's the big if, or do they let him go on the 5th year? So that's what we don't know. Like you said, they said their goal is to be, but that we know they haven't reached their goal for decades. They haven't won a playoff game. So just because you have a goal doesn't mean you get that goal done. And there's also jargon, because you're not going to say, oh, no, we're not, because then he's just lame duck quarterback. If you say, no, we're going to make him play this. So you're not going to, there's no right way to answer. So his way he answered, I give him okay. That's the way to answer, because it leaves that our goal is to get him, gives him and his side thinking. But we'll touch more on Tua in a few minutes. But it's just so disappointing, Steve. Like I said, I mean, yes, there's some guys that you want. Wilkins, like you say, could they afford to keep him? Yes, but at the cost of a whole bunch of those other guys, because he's going to make over 20 million. I don't know exactly how much, but he's going to make over 20 million in a year, which is fine. He's earned it, and he should go get it on the market. But the Dolphins have kind of backed themselves in. Can they really afford to pay him $5 million a year when you got big contracts still on the books, because I know everyone's like writing off Xavier Howard, but you look and see what his dead cap money is. If you cut him, there's no sense to cut him. So it's because you got, it's crazy. Now, if some team trades for him, I don't think anyone's going to trade for him. So you're basically, and he's not going to take a salary cut. He kind of made that evident, the other day. So you're kind of stuck there. Even if Armstead walks away, and you think that frees it, doesn't really in the NFL salary cap. He won't get his money, but you're still take dead cap money, which I guess you can spread over a couple of seasons. I don't get into the math, but still it's a big hit. So I'm with you, Steve. It's just kind of this like, give me a couple of weeks and I'd be more raw. We're going to be great next year, or after our first signing and some guy that we all think, oh, yes, we got him. That's, we all buy the hope train, all hop on there full speed ahead every year, full throttle. And, but right now it's a very grim picture, man, because this is a team we were bought and sold that this was going to be the team that was going to win, compete against the Ravens of the world. And they scored 50 something points on us. This is the year we're going to beat the Bills, and we had every opportunity to win the division, but we lose to the Tennessee Titans, lose to the Ravens, and lose to the Bills at the end of the year when we only needed one of those games to win the division. So, yeah, and I am not discounting the injuries, and I'm not making excuses for the injuries, but I do know injuries played a factor in the Dolphins' final equation. And if you're the owner of the team, you have to factor in those, because they analyze everything. So they're going to look and say, well, he did get a lot of players hurt. What if they didn't? And that's another mess, though, because Chubb is not going to be ready at the start of the season. Phillips is not going to be ready at the season. So you may have to overpay Van Ginkel to come back and then not have Wilkins, because now you have no edge guys, coming into next season. So it's very tough. Yes, we will be drafting at 21, but you don't know at that point in the draft, 20 teams already drafted ahead. 20 picks before you. You don't know what's going to be on the board, and we got so many needs. So it's hard for me to be my Dolphin thirsty, normal, enthusiastic self, Steve. I don't know what to say. Always a Dolphin fan, but this one hurts because this is the bill of goods we were sold, that this is the team. And the only team that we beat with a winning record, we're also one and done in the playoffs. So that's where our resume. Oh, we beat the Cowboys. Oh, guess what? They got upset on their home field. I think their loss was more disappointing than our loss because they lost on their home turf where they hadn't lost all year. So,
they didn't only get lost, they got dominated.
Yeah, they got dominated. They only made the score look good on the end on garbage time scoring, but they got dominated, got spanked. And, it's just what it is. And look at Philadelphia. They were 10-1, and then they went horrible. So I understand it's a common thing among all of us, but we only care about our fan base and the Dolphins, and that's all we care about. So that's what we talk about, but it just shows out there how hard it is to win. But so many of these other teams, I'm going to pick on the team in your home neck of the woods because you're a Miami Dolphins fan, but you live in Houston, Texas territory. Right. That franchise is an example of they were going for it all, so they traded for Tunsil, gave up 2 first-round picks, ended up winning a playoff game against Buffalo where Deshaun Watson had a great comeback and stuff. So they were moving in the right direction, and they got Tunsil. But then the whole thing blew up in their face. Deshaun Watson never wanted to be a Texan before all the allegations, and turned out to be true stuff. But, we're not going to get into that garbage. We all know what happened. So then he gets shipped off, traded to Cleveland. But here they are. They've already won after tearing it all down, draft a rookie quarterback, and they've already won a playoff game. Yes, you could say, oh, they're in a weaker division. I don't care what the excuse says. They won a playoff game. We haven't. So that's a simple. It's very frustrating, Steve. And I don't envy. I don't wish harm on Houston, but that franchise just kind of makes me mad because I go, look at them, man. They're already won a playoff game with a rookie quarterback, and we're going into our 5th year of our quarterback, and we're still scratching our head. Is he the guy? Is he isn't the guy? And it's just frustrating. It's frustrating.
That's it. You said it all right there, Rob.
That's just,
No, man, I'm happy that you got it off your chest, and you made all the sense in the world. I feel the same way. You couldn't have said it. I couldn't have said it better than that. It was just terrible, just disappointing. We all got blown, the smoke up our butts that this year was going to be the year by the media and all the pundits and all the, beat writers and everybody else. And I mean, we were Chris Greer blowing, hey, you guys are worried about the line more than we are. Well, you know what? Actually, the line wasn't the problem this year. So I got to give him that. The line wasn't the problem this year. In fact, I will tell you, and these are with all the injuries and everything else that we had on the O-line. In our O-line was the Dolphins allowed the fewest sacks. They were fourth. They were fourth in the fewest sacks in the NFL this year with 31. Okay. And they had the lowest pressure percentage, 14.5%. Now, grants you, Tua got that ball out of there quick, and everybody said, well, Tua, he had to get that ball out there quick because our O-line sucks. Bull crap. He had to do the same thing last year. Okay? So, I mean, it's no different. This team was no different than last year. The only thing that made this team different this year than last year is statistics. That's it. Statistic-wise, we were better last year. Playoff-wise, we lost in the first round. We didn't make it, right, to the second round. So we were no different than last year. Oh, my bad. We had an 11-6 record as opposed to 9-8 and just barely slipped into the playoffs last year. This year, we're pretty convincing we got in there at, what was it, like the 15th or 16th game or something like that. We knew we had clinched the playoffs.
Yeah.
That was it, right? And you just said it elegantly right there. We had a chance to win a division and to be a first seed, and we blew it again.
No, we did.
But anyway, I wanted to get into some other contractual issues that.
Let me touch on Daniels real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Daniel, maybe you know the sport, but all I know is Howard's very hard to be gone from. Wilkins, yes, he's a free agent, so off his, he would be off the books. But Howard, man, we get too much dead cap space from what I'm looking up. I'm not an expert at it. I just go by what Over the Cap and Sport Track says, but we got a lot of dead space money pre or post June 1st this year. So it's not easy to move away from Howard. But anyway, you can go on. I just wanted to say that, or I knew I would forget. And Daniel is a regular in here, so he deserved a little bit.
No problem, Rob. No problem. No. And you're right. You're correct. Howard is not going anywhere. Okay, he's not. Not only from the reason why Rob said, but who else is going to pay him that kind of money? Even if he was to take a pay cut, like he said, well, I'm not going to take a pay. Or he didn't say that. He said, would you take a pay cut if your boss asks you? He's going to take a pay cut if they ask him to take a pay cut. He ain't going nowhere because nobody is going to take him anywhere else. Even if he did take a pay cut, nobody's going to pay him that kind of money. So that's all talk with Howard. Howard will be here next year. Armstead, I believe, I think he will be here next year as well. I don't know for how many games, but he'll be here next year. It would be a big hit if we were to move away from him, but he's not going to turn down that big money. Nobody else is going to take him either. So he's going to play for us next year. He's not retiring. He's going to play. But also, another big concern for me is, and I know I don't know if you mentioned this, Rob, was Connor Williams. Connor Williams is another guy that Chris Greer said we're going to let him test the market. Now, grant you, he was hurt, but that center position, it's very, very difficult to find a good center in this league. We should have paid him from the start. We should have paid him before he got hurt, Chris Greer. And you didn't want to, but we were more worried about the line than you were. But the bottom line is
that was the one position, Steve. I agree with you that they had no backup plan at center. You can't go in the center with one guy that's taking snaps that snapped the ball in the NFL. Yeah. That's what we did. But it is, it is what it is. I mean, Eichenberg had never snapped the ball in his whole career on any level of football. And then they asked him. I mean, he did okay. I do not blame Eichenberg. I blame the plan. Eichenberg did the best he could out there.
Yeah, I mean, Eichenberg is I still say he needs to be in the XFL. If you look at his PFF grades, there were 49 for the year. 49. So he was getting pushed back like a feather in the game against the Kansas City Chiefs. So we need to fix that center position. Bring Connor Williams back. Don't let him test the market because he can play guard and he can play center.
So you say that even knowing he may not be able to start the season, you still say bring him back.
I still say bring him back, even though he's not ready to start the season. It may be until October or November,
Right.
but I think we could look. We survived without him. How many games? And it wasn't the O line wasn't the problem. And Daniel is right. We are top heavy. We are a top heavy team, and we do not have any depth. But guess what, Daniel? Chris Greer is going to get rid of 30 to 40% of our roster this year. His words, not mine. Who are we going to get to replace those 20 to 30 players? Or, yeah, about 20 players. Who are we going to get to replace them?
I know.
Right?
I mean, there's a lot. This is where Chris Greer better earn his money and do whatever he can do and fix this mess because we are way over the cap. It's ridiculous amount of over the cap, but it is what it is, man. This is the mess we're like 42 million, almost 43 million according to Sport Track. I'm not looking at.
Exactly. That's
So
correct, Rob.
so somewhere in that neighborhood, and it's just Buffalo's way. They're actually too, but at least Buffalo's winning, so they're doing
Buffalo
right.
may win a Super Bowl. Who gives a crap?
I know. That's what I was saying.
We're trying to win a playoff game, dude.
I know. It's sad, Steve. I know. And then they played Saturday, so we've gone Sunday, Monday. It was already Tuesday night, and we're still complaining because it was an ugly end to the season that we still go. And we're going to be the trivia question until we end it. About what's the last team that hasn't won a playoff game? It's now the Miami Dolphins. So that's your answer, guys. If anyone tries to trick you, it's sad,
absolutely.
sad.
Yep. And Hooked Up Joe made a good point. You want to bring his comment up? He said that Connor could be labeled injury prone at this point. Could that allow us to get him for less after he tests the market? Possibility. He might have to. But then again, what could counter that is he was like the second or third best center when he was playing. So I don't know. That's a good point. Good comment. Cap says they used to be calling loser until proven different or until you decided switch to another. Yeah, true.
Yeah, well, we would never switch teams, Cap. I'm sure.
No, for sure. If I haven't switched teams after 51 years, I'm not going to do it now. But Rob, if you want to go ahead and drop that link, we can get some folks in here. Maybe Cap for Live, Hooked Up Joe, or Daniel, or Sharif. They want to come in.
Is still in here.
Have them. We can pop them in and get their comments and see how they're feeling.
Yes, Cap for Life. It's going to be a very long 8 months, Cap for Life. At least we got the NFL draft. But, of course, we'd be fighting on Dolphins Twitter whether it was the greatest pick ever or the worst pick ever within 2 minutes of the pick. I say 2 minutes on the nice side. Within about 30 seconds on the first one's going to be yes or the no, what are they doing? So, it'd be Dolphin Twitter all over again in April. And first free agency when we see people leave and come or whatever. So we'll still be going at it, Cap for Life. But at least the talk of the 23 season will finally be over. Cap for Life is sneaking into the room. So,
that's fine.
He's not connected yet. So
all right, that'd be great. Like to have Cap for Life in here. But let's talk a little bit about Tua. Okay.
Hey, Cap for Life.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
Loud and clear, brother.
Oh, bear with me, guys. I'm over here eating some Chinese food.
Wait a minute. Earlier today, you were eating an empanada.
Yeah, man, I'm all over the place. Hey, I'm on the road. I'll be having a burrito. I'll be all over the place with headphones, driving with a freaking trying to microphone the phone so I can just talk into it. Sometimes the words come out all scrambled and shit. So I'm driving and I'm like, yo, I gotta fix this.
Are you a truck driver?
Nah, I work for pretty much a courier right around Pompano, Florida. So I do local runs.
Gotcha. Kind of like I do. I'm retired, but I still do Uber Eats every once in a while.
So real quick, Steve, we got also Sharif and Hooked Up Joe.
Yeah, bring him in. So Cap, what do you think, man? What do you think? Did you see the presser with Chris Greer and our coach Mike McDaniel?
Oh yeah, I know you guys saw it too, right?
I didn't see the whole thing. I just saw some of it, not all of it. But I did see some of the transcripts that went down during the presser. But what's your take on all these guys, the free agency and Chris Greer, saying we're gonna turn this roster over, 20, 30, 40% of it.
I mean, I don't know, man. You're gonna hear people say we're gonna run it back, but then you hear Greer saying we're gonna, do the exact same thing you
Right.
just said. So we don't
Right.
we don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, for me, it's just I don't know, man. Like I keep hearing what they were saying yesterday in the presser, and then I'm a good, like, not judge a character, but like I've always noticed like body language,
Right.
especially on these
Right.
podcasts.
Right.
And the way McDaniel always just looks straight and forward, doesn't say anything to anybody when Greer's talking, and just nods his head up and down with agreement. And then when Greer was asked a question about that first round pick,
Oh, I saw
and
that.
yeah, and then I guess they were asking him, are you guys are finally getting a first round pick? What do you guys plan to do with it?
Right.
And then Greer was just like, yeah, you never know what happens, blah blah blah. Then
Yeah,
just
basically, we're open for business if someone wants to call. Yeah, and then
yeah, and then
yeah,
McDaniel just looked
Exactly.
right at him,
Exactly.
looked right to his right, gave him the death stare. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you trying to say? Like, I want,
Right.
I want that pick.
Right.
And then I guess
Right.
right after that was said, that Greer said all that stuff about maybe open for business. Right after that, he looks at McDaniel and said, "Yeah, me and Mike are having, we were talking about that earlier. So maybe, I know Mike wants that pick." And then Mike's like, "Yeah, I want that pick. Yeah," like shaking his head up and down, like, "Yeah, I want that pick." So for me, that right
Yeah.
there is like, they're not on the same page, and that for
I
me is
agree.
concerning.
Yeah.
hey, let's
Yeah.
see
It
if
is
Sharif,
concerning. I agree
Sharif, do
100%.
you hear us?
Yeah.
No, Sharif, I'm asking.
Good evening. Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yes,
Is my mic
hear
on?
you,
Sorry,
Sharif.
I'm available
Are you
now.
breaking up a little bit, Sharif?
All right, let me go out and come back in because
Okay, yeah.
I
Okay,
can't
brother.
hear
You're
him.
breaking up. You're breaking
Yeah, you're
up.
breaking up. You're breaking up. Hooked up Joe, I see you're there. How you doing, brother?
Okay, yeah, I'm back in action. Sorry about that.
No problem. How you doing?
I'm doing good, as as could
What's
be expected anyway.
Yeah, we know.
exactly,
But hey, but at
exactly.
least it's been a couple days, guys. So we're starting. It's like Cap said, though. It's going to be a long off season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're here all off season. So off season is just another phase of the process. So we are officially in the next year. Screw the playoffs, whatever they're going to do is. But right now I'm in next year
Right.
mode already.
Right. Yeah,
Talking
me
about
too.
the cap, talking about this. I mean, I don't like that the season's over, but I actually enjoy the off season a lot because that's when the people that are really into it are really talking about it. And I don't want to say it weeds out the casuals because I don't really talk like that.
Right.
Okay, I
Right.
just did, but I really don't mean it that way. I really just mean that the people that are really hardcore and
Mhm.
love the team are here all year long.
No, it's a
So
365
Yeah.
day topic
Yeah.
around my house.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what's your take on the presser with Greer and McDaniel? How did you see it?
well,
What did you hear?
okay, the part where he says this year was our injury bug year. Oh yeah, we just had injuries this year. I'm like, does he not know the history of the team? How can you be the general manager and have forgotten last year? I mean,
Yeah.
last year was ridiculous. Last year we were top on the list for the number of if you looked at the cap hit that we had on IR and in injuries last year, we were top of
Mhm.
the list last year. How
Yeah.
can you, as a general manager, come out and go, yeah, we just got hit by injuries this year out of the blue. It's just never happened before. It's like, where are you coming from, man? I mean, as much as I like
Exactly.
Greer, I think he's got big problems in
Mhm.
requiring the people that he drafted to stay on the team regardless. I mean, I see some of them are working out now, but at the same time,
Mhm.
I honestly believe that we could get other talented people that are actually healthy, and with our coaching staff, get a solid offensive line without breaking the bank trying to pull in nothing but veterans. We can't do that. We can't pull in veterans. I mean, we got a guy from one position, transfer him over to another position. We can get some talent. We can get them in and train them into being what we want.
Yeah, develop them. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree 100%. And to go along with what you said about the O-line, I'm with you all the way. We don't need to get an all-star O-line, all-pro O-line. All we need is some good, solid, players across the line. That's it. Because with this scheme, as much as people want to say about McDaniel and how he's a bad play caller and all that, that's crap. Man, this guy has turned this team over. He's made this team into, a playoff. Getting into the playoffs. When's the last time we've been in the playoffs, right? So he has turned this team completely around. He's kept this team floating, with the injuries, all the injuries and everything. He's nothing else he can do, But the bottom line is we don't. What were you saying?
I'm a pro McDaniel guy.
I like McDaniel.
I really like what he's doing and where he's going.
Let's find out where Cap stands. Where do you stand on McDaniel, Cap?
Oh, I'm sorry, Cap's in here.
Oh, no. Go ahead, Joe. No, I'm just, for me, it's, I mean, you got to let him finish what he started, man. I mean, 2 years in a row in the playoffs, you can't argue that.
I agree.
I mean, I feel for the man with all the crap he's going to have to hear the next 8 months. The same way all these other coaches talked about, coach coming, here and rumors there and all this other crap. Mm-hmm. But I'm sorry, you did this to yourself. Yeah. You're not going to blame the fans for this. You did this to yourself.
No,
they
true. Did. That's true. I agree. I was just wondering if you. So we all in agreement that McDaniel is justified to be back next year. So we all.
Yeah, it makes no sense to get another coach. Why would you talk about getting another coach when you just fired your last coach because of coaching?
Yeah,
it's the definition of insanity.
No. Exactly. I agree with you 100%, Cap, and Hooked Up Joe as well. I think we're all in agreement that we all like McDaniel. Look, there's some things I don't like about him, but it has nothing to do with other than the accountability issues and things of that nature. And but as far as play calling goes and what he's done as far as creating this his design, the way that he designed this offense, you can't ask for better. So I'm definitely in agreement.
He can design really good plays. Yeah,
Yes.
I actually hope that Smith gets swiped for a head coaching job and Bevel comes into offensive coordinator and starts calling plays. I mean, if I had to wave a magic wand and say, hey, I think this would be great because they work together and McDaniel has the mind to create the plays. I mean, he's using it like silly putty and actually getting us to be effective with an offensive line that, I'm sorry to insult people that love our offensive line, they suck. I mean,
you're right. You're
with the 32nd, we had the 32nd ranked offensive line, and it was actually would have been 30th. I mean, it would have been 40th if you had a longer scale. I mean, we were.
You think everybody's coming back, Joe, on the O-line?
No. If you look at the number of free agents that we have 3 offensive linemen coming back. We need 5. I actually did this. We need.
That's the core, right?
Currently, right now on offensive line, we're going to need 5 offensive linemen because Armstead's probably not coming back. Because follow me on this one.
All right, go ahead.
He already said he's tired. He doesn't know how much he can handle, and he is on his last leg and might retire himself. B, if we use the post June 1st designation on him, we're actually going to save $9 million, which we really need this year. And he is not going to be able to play more than half the games next year.
That's a point. That's a great point. Yeah.
I think what's going to happen is him and X are both, we're going to have 2. We're going to be kicking $25 million or something over the next year. We have the $10 million cap hit this year for Byron Jones. We're going to kick about 25 over because basically we have to cut we have to cut X pretty much.
But
and we got to cut.
You can't really move it. You look at the salary cap numbers, it's like a 20-something million dead cap hit.
It is, but if you use that June 1st to kick it all to next year, it actually provides a crazy amount of savings. We'll get into a cap discussion. I shouldn't have brought it up.
Yeah, I am not the expert.
I'm interested in hearing that.
Yeah,
We need
that would be interesting.
5
Yeah. First, hey, we got
offensive
Ray in the
linemen.
room. Hey, Ray, how are you? How you
Good.
doing, Ray?
Hey, Ray,
What up,
how you
Finkel?
look like you're? Hey, you look like you were getting ready to block somebody the way you were adjusting your phone there.
Well, I can't leave my camera on.
How you doing, man?
Good.
Thanks for joining us. So you joined the discussion. Can you piggyback on what Hooked Up Joe said, or what we all said, and Cap and everything?
No, I agree, man. It's just, I mean, it's, right now at this point where we're at, it's really hard to figure out what the next step is. I mainly wanted to talk about Tua,
Oh,
So,
you want to
Hey,
talk
that's
about
it.
Tua?
You got the floor.
Oh
You got the
man,
floor,
you
Ray.
got it, man. You got the podium.
look, first of all, being a Miami fan since '92, I'm going to support whoever we've got in there. That's some bad stuff over the years, but I mean, I want Tua to be the guy. I love Tua. I love his attitude. I love his personality.
Right.
The problem is, and I've been saying this, on different chats throughout the week. I love him. I want him to be the guy. I'm not sure. I'm all over the place with him because I'm really not sure right now if he is.
And there's nothing wrong with that, man. There's nothing wrong with that.
at all.
Look
I
at this.
think almost everybody is right now. Everybody's
Yeah.
head spinning. I mean,
Yeah, for sure. Look, I was a guy that wanted Tua here. I wanted to draft him, and people are, you wouldn't believe it the way that I'm talking now and critiquing him and on some stuff. I'm just bringing up the facts, man. If he can't win a playoff game and he loses the big games the last 4 years, right? You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand the dilemma we're in with Tua. And like you said, Ray, I'm a little confused too. I mean, because now we're not at a point where we can say, well, he's our franchise quarterback. The same thing with Ross. I mean, not Ross. Greer. He didn't say he was our franchise quarterback in that presser. He just says the goal is for him to be here long term, playing at a high level. He didn't say he's our franchise quarterback. So that might lead me to believe that maybe we're not going to pay him the bag, that he's going to play his 5th-year option. But I don't know. What do you all think? Ray? Hooked Up Joe?
I do got something on
Reef's
that
back,
one.
by the way.
Okay. We'll go with Hooked Up Joe first, then Ray, and then we'll go to Sharif.
Now go ahead.
Look,
I wanna hear it.
But I want to say, if we all have that same answer, maybe that is our answer. If none of us are sure Tua's the guy, maybe he's not the guy, because you should be sure by now. Cincinnati Bengals are sure Joe Burrow, when he's not injured, is the guy. We don't have that. We're not that sure yet. So that might be, and I like Tua too. My discllaimer, like Joe Rowe always says, here comes the but, because he always props someone up. But, I like him too. But I'm still not sure if he's the guy. We're in purgatory with him because he's shown enough good, but then he's shown in the big games, he hasn't stand up to deliver us the big win when needed. So it's like a mixed bag for me, man. So that's all. That's where I stand on Tua. But
what were we going to say? Hooked Up Joe?
My comment was really going to be on Greer because you were talking about our goal is when you're in contract negotiations with the same guy that got Watson, his huge contract, you are going to be playing it as close to the vest as possible, especially if you're trying to use how bad he played as a token to try to get that money down against this agent. This agent is no joke. I mean, trying to get Tua to come in at a lower money after he went to that agent last year, I'm like, oh crap, he went to that agent. We're screwed.
Yeah, athletes now, they're dogs.
So, but we might have went from 50 to 42 and maybe down to a 4-year contract or something like that. You know what I mean? Maybe we're going to get you did crappy discount with Tua too, since we got to keep him to extend him in order to get that cap number into some kind of range, because we have so many free agencies we have to fill, but there's a whole cap show on that. So again, I digress too much on that.
No. You're correct. You're correct. We're going to go with you, Ray. What did you have another comment on that? And then we'll go to Sharif. I know he's been waiting.
Don't forget, Cap is still here too.
And Cap is still here too. I know.
Yeah, I've been saying since Saturday night. Just my biggest thing with Tua Um, and unfortunately, this is something you're born with or you're not born with. He just lacks the intensity. If I could keep him and coach him and change him myself, which is what we all do when we watch the game, man, if he just had that intensity that you look at Josh Allen, and I can't stand Josh Allen. Obviously, if he played for Miami, I'd love him to death, but I can't stand him. But what he does is he leaves the field. I
Yeah.
mean, doing everything he can, and he'll sacrifice his body. Um, and Tua just that's the only thing I would change about him is if he goes up, stays in the pocket, throws a pass, misses, he goes and sits on the bench. I mean, that's just you know he's not yelling at players. He's not really he lacks the fire and intensity that I would love to have a quarterback. If you look at most of the quarterbacks that are in the playoffs right now, obviously most of them are running quarterbacks, but they're going to carry that team on their back, and that's the only thing that leaves me wondering is Tua the guy, because I mean that's like I said, it's something you're born with. Nobody's coaching Josh Allen to do what he's doing. He's just got that fire and intensity in him, and he goes out there and plays on the field. So
I agree. And here, let me make this point real quick, and then we'll get to Sharif, and then back to Cap. Um, I agree. He doesn't have that intensity, and that's something you can't coach. You're right. You can't coach that. Um, and this is just my opinion and my feeling. I don't think Tua really wants to. I don't think football is Tua's priority. Let's put it that way. And that's okay. That's okay. If that's not his priority, I got that. But if it's not your priority, then go play somewhere else, man. Not with this team. We're trying to win a Super Bowl here. We're trying to win a Super Bowl. Forget about winning a playoff game. That boat is shipped, right? That sail is shipped. Right
For
now,
this year.
next year, we're going to play a freaking we got to win a Super Bowl. All right, this 2 years already. We've missed not even winning a playoff game. And now this is going to be the third year, and all we're wishing for is a playoff game. No, man, there should be higher expectations than what Tyreek said. Tyreek said, "Oh, we exceeded all of our expectations." Really? Statistically wise, you might have exceeded expectations,
Well,
but not
Armstead was honest. Armstead said it was a disappointment of a season.
Armstead. Well, I didn't hear that, but I'm glad he said that. That makes sense. But for Tyreek to say that, thinking that that the fan base, that's what our expectations are, just to get stats, no way. Sharif, what do you got to say about all this?
Hey, good night, everyone. Fins up.
Hey, how's
First
it
of
going,
all,
brother?
Lion.
blessed love, my Lord.
Amen.
I first of all, I love you guys. I love the dedication from the fan base for this team. And well, gentlemen, am I better now in audio?
Yes, you're perfect.
You're
Yeah,
good,
you're
sir.
Great,
good. You're good, brother.
great. So I was able to, and I'm gonna break this down in context of 5 years.
Okay.
And I'm gonna speed through the first three. So we were able. So there's two parts to this, really. It's when Greer, Marvin Allen, and Reggie McKenzie decided to fast track, and from what I've seen from the NFL teams who have either advanced or are playing very well, they built from the inside out. Green Bay Packers, they built from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
Their offensive line and their offensive unit is an average of 25 years. Kansas City, inside out, their defense is average of 25.5. And when you look at the younger other Houston Texans, CJ Stroud, obviously. So that's the context of the 5-year plan when Greer decided to trade Laramie Tunsil. He was moving in the direction of the first 2 years of that trade. He was moving in the direction to be a very young team for a long time. And then I'll get into the fast tracking. So it really doesn't matter how Tua is to me. And it doesn't, of course, it matters more that McDaniel play calling and not being able to adjust, his head being down in the playbook like Adam Gase shows me that he's more of a coordinator and doesn't delegate as a head coach. That's a different topic. What I'm breaking down now is we had a direction we were going to build from the inside out. And I think we failed that. And then Greer decided to tell Marvin Allen and Reggie McKenzie, let's fast track this. Then they got Cedric Wilson, Tyreek. They ended up getting Chubb. They ended up getting Isaiah Wynn. They got Byron Jones. They got Ramsey. And this is $64 million that is either not helped Tua or Tua had not propelled them. Now, let's say we built from the inside out. This is a different approach, the approach that they were on. So let's say now, like I said, you still would have been able to get Waddle, Raekwon Davis, Javon Holland. You would have traded Igbenogany to move up of Tampa, who jumped ahead of San Francisco to get Javon Kinlaw, and you would have been able to get Tristan Wirfs. Then you settled your center position by just getting Cesar Ruiz, who would have been there in the second round because you traded Igbenogany or the pick that Igbenogany to get Tristan Wirfs. The next year, so you still would have been able to get Waddle. And the next year, you get Penei Sewell with the third to fifth pick. You're in position to get Penei. You just get Penei. So now you have Cesar Ruiz, Tristan Wirfs, and Penei. I think you would not have had to gotten Connor. You wouldn't had to get Armstead, which is part of the $64 million that Greer have already spent. Van Noy is in this. We have obviously Fuller, $10 million gone. Obviously, and I spoke about him just now. Ramsey, Byron Jones, Chubb, Tyreek. So this is $64 million gone to either help propel Tua or if Tua propel them. It didn't happen. And I think with all of the Raekwon Davis picks, and in addition, you have Tristan Wirfs, Cesar Ruiz, and you have Penei Sewell. That's building from the inside out. I think either with Mostert, let's just say you got Achane, you would have still been able to get Robert Hunt and Raekwon Davis. So you would have had Robert Hunt, Tristan Wirfs, Penei Sewell, and you would have Cesar Ruiz. You could put me there at the other guard, and we would have just pummeled teams with a 4-minute offense to clean out games. But my point is, Greer, Marvin Allen, and McKenzie failed immensely by fast tracking this team the moment they got Tyreek, Chubb, Byron Jones, Ramsey. You fast tracked the team, and now the money we could have easily had, $64 million, to use this year to help Robert Hunt, Tua, Mostert, Achane. You would have had Waddle and you wouldn't have had Tyreek. So we could have gotten Jarvis Landry back or had Cedric Wilson play a bigger role. But my point is, you got the help. It failed immensely. Now you don't have $64 million to play with anymore. So that failed immensely. I think so. My responsibility, guys, is not on Tua. It's not on McDaniel. It's strictly on Chris Greer, Marvin Allen, and McKenzie for deciding to fast track this team and not build from the inside out.
Yes, I agree. Chris Greer definitely has failed in building this team, like you said, from the inside out. But here's my question to you. And then you mentioned that Tua is not the problem. Is that what you said?
No, I don't think he's the problem, because remember now we're asking Connor, who's injured prone in Dallas. We're asking Teron Armstead, who's injured prone before coming from the Saints. We're asking Byron Jones, who basically tore his ACL and popped it back into place to come over here and play. We're asking Jalen Ramsey, who's injured prone. So you fast tracked the team. You gave up all of our picks, Chris.
I got you. I got you on that. Now I follow you. I follow you, Sharif. This is my dilemma. Okay, this is my problem. I agree with you 100%, right? He did fast track it and he spent all this money and all that stuff. Why hasn't Tua Tagovailoa elevated this team then?
So that's when I asked myself the question, with the Penei Sewell, the Tristan Wirfs, and Cesar Ruiz, you don't have to get a win. You don't have to get the kid, the right tackle we got last year. You don't have to get the guard that we got last year. You don't have to get Armstead and Connor, because you're settled there. You built from the inside out. You still have Mostert. You still have Achane. You still have Waddle. You still have all your key pieces, Robert Hunt, Javon Holland. You're not losing them by getting a line. You see what I'm saying?
Right. But let me ask, this is the question I'm getting at. And it all boils down to Tua. In my mind. I agree with what you're saying. Yes, they failed in building it inside out with an O line and all that. But with this, the way that this offense, and tell me if you disagree or agree, with the way that this offensive line is designed and the way that this offense is built, right? Do we really need all those guys on the O line? Or is it that we need to elevate the quarterback play?
Now, that's a great question because I asked myself that, and what I ask myself is, you know, I look at Jordan Love in his last 9 games, 21 touchdowns and 1 interception, and I'm not trying to say Flores was right. What I'm trying to say is, in every win that they had down the stretch, they run the ball for over 35 times.
Yes.
And why do I say that? Because McDaniel is not dumb.
No.
They stopped the run in the second half every time, and we lost down
Thank
the
you.
stretch. And
We
so he
lost
changed
Cap
his
for one.
mind, and he was exactly. So they stopped the run. That's what they did. And so they said we had no adjustments. They put in 8 in the box. And then, of course, Tua was unable to convert either off script or by
Correct.
mismaking plays.
Correct.
So that's on Tua. But
I'm gonna-
the thing is, I'll say this again. I'm relying on Eichenberg, who would have never been here. I'm relying on Armstead, who's never here, and Connor Williams, who came from Dallas injured. So I would have been relying on Cesar. I would have Ruiz, who's the top-rated center after
Right.
3 years. I
Right.
would have been. These are guys. I was in the war room 5 years ago. These are guys we evaluated. We know who these guys were. Like we knew who Panay so well was. Generational tackle. We're talking about protecting a guy with a hip.
Yeah, right. No, I get your point. And you make some good points. Yeah, you're right.
So
Hey, Steve or Brett, this is kind of aimed towards Brett, who made some comments in there because he says it's all about the quarterback, which I think we kind of agree with at this case, Reef and Steve. But here's the teams, the 8 teams that are still left in the dance. You got the Texans, who it looks like by all accounts have their guy in CJ Stroud. The Ravens, by all account, Lamar Jackson, and he's been paid like it. Now it looks like the Packers maybe have their man in Jordan Love. 49ers, I guess you could argue rather Bark Purdy, but he wins. So it's hard to argue against that. Tampa, they got Baker Mayfield at the helm. So, he's been bounced around, but he was a number 1 overall pick at one point in his career. So he obviously has the talent, seems to have found a home. Then you got the Lions, another top way up there in golf with the Lions, who used to be on the Rams. And then, of course, at Chiefs at Buffalo, they both obviously have their guys. So those lists, would you take Tua over any of those quarterbacks on those lists right now? That's what you have to. And if the answer is yes, then you're okay. We got our guy. But if you wouldn't even take him over Baker Mayfield, then we don't have our guy. Is what my point.
See, the thing is with me with Tua, right? Is you have to run more than you pass, and we're unable to do that. And we're unable to do that. You can say because Keon Smith is in there, you got Robert Jones in there, and they're not incapable, But we can also say that I always say when I look at evaluating this team, I look at the money we needed to allocate into Tua's 5th year because we don't have to worry about negotiating. People always say these guys are all. No, we don't have to negotiate with Tua. We don't have to negotiate with Robert Hunt, Waddle, or Jalen Phillips. It's stop. People need to stop putting that out there. What we need to have done was not fast track this team, not have Tyreek, not have Byron Jones, not have Fuller, not have Ramsey. Yes, get Cedric, bring back Landry, do what you have to do, and just get Panay, Worse, and Caesar, and you run the football. And I think with that young nucleus, the only person you would have had to pay is probably Van Ginkel. And you would have had to pay Van Ginkel, and that's it. Because you wouldn't have heard of Connor, you wouldn't have heard of Armstead, you wouldn't have heard of none of these cats building from the inside out. And so it's Greer who failed us, guys.
I was going to say, that's my next question to you, Sharif. Do you have faith in Greer building through the draft moving forward if they decide to do a mini rebuild and start going through the draft again?
I think it's 5 years I cannot get back. I evaluated, and Tears is coming waddling up in me right now. I evaluated Panay well, and I evaluated Tristan Wirfs. I evaluated Cesar Ruiz based on knowing that Fitzmagic is hurt. He's always hurt as well.
Yeah.
And Tua is coming in with an hip. So I do not want you to replace me with garbage after losing Laramie. And I'm just going back in time to how I felt at that time. You brought in garbage to replace Laramie Tunsil.
Mm-hmm.
When the whole world, the whole earth know that the Tristan Wirfs was generational. The whole earth knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
well,
we all went, hey, we got 2 first-round picks for Tunsil. Oh, what a
we would have had
move.
rookie X on the side of Xavier Howard instead of Byron Jones. We would have had another rookie receiver instead of Fuller. You build through the draft, you just like you promised, and you did not stick to it. And now
course, because you're
that
right.
64 million that we could have used to win, now it's not there. Chubb, Ramsey, Wynn, Armstead, Connor, Fuller, Byron Jones. You failed. It's not really about Tua. It's about you brought these guys in to either help propel Tua for Tua to propel them, and it failed. You're fired, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think Rob and I are both with you on that, and I think
I know Brett
Brett is in there. He's in the chat. I'm sure he's agree with you too. Fire Greer for sure. I don't know if that's going to happen this year, but he better do something this year, or I think he will be on the hot seat maybe next year. I don't know. We'll see. But you make some very good points, Sharif. I always appreciate you coming on here, and you always have some good stuff to bring to the table. I appreciate that.
Yes. In addition to the 32 free agents that we have to sign, because you fast track and spending all of our money, we're not gonna. Now, me and Neil Driscoll, we break this down months ago. If the Dolphins wanted to save 44 million under the cap by after the meetings and the owners meetings, they have to do 4 restructures, which is why X said, hey, peace, I'm gone, see you guys later. And they have to make 3 cuts, one obviously being Ogba. So just 3 cuts, 3 restructures, and we're underneath 44 million under the cap. So it's not a scare thing. What are we going to do? No, it's just that that would have been 44 million in addition to 64 million you would have been able to use with your young nucleus. So you're fired, Chris.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And with that, Sharif, we're going to have to cut the show right now. I appreciate you joining us. I appreciate everyone that joined on the show tonight.
Sorry you never got back to you, Cap. Come back next time.
Are you still there, Cap?
No, he left.
Oh, he left? Okay. I was going to say, well, I'm sorry we didn't get to him either. But that's okay. We'll get to him next time. Like I said, folks, if you are in the chat right now, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends and your neighbors. I appreciate you all. We will have more panel shows like this moving forward. And I'm also going to try to get some good guests on here, some other content creators as well.
Does Brett count as a good guest?
Who?
Brett.
Who's that? No, I'm only kidding. Of course, Brett Lagasse.
See, Brett, you're always welcome, Brett. You got an open invitation on this.
He knows he's always welcome on this show.
On our show, at least.
Absolutely. But anyway, let's go ahead and cut the show here, Rob, and we'll see everybody next week.
Don't get too pumped yet. I don't have the closed out video yet.
That's fine.
So let's see. I'm trying to find that, guys. I'm trying to find Caneswear, guys. Remember to shop at Caneswear. So don't forget, they got good stuff if you live in South Florida and Caneswear.com. So now, Steve, you can do, even though we know it's not really number 1, but they're number 1 in our hearts. So I say let's still go out with your tagline.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, thank you, everybody, for joining us. And remember, Dolphins number 1, baby.
Dolphins number 1.
All right, man. That was pretty good.